have been studying fashion and its role on our society since I was a child. Fashion is one of the largest and the most powerful industries in the world. But it is also an industry full of contradictions. Fashion has always played an important role in my life, and I had a chance and a privilege to experience it in very diverse and very different ways. First of all, as a little girl growing up in the post-Soviet Union Lithuania, a small country close to the Baltic Sea, back then anything fashionable was even hard to get. I grew up wearing sweaters knitted by my mother and dresses made by a local seamstress. Later on, I could experience the industry working as a fashion model. I was traveling the world and working with a lot of great and creative people, which I truly loved. Further on, as a social activist, the fashion revolution social movement, sustainable fashion entrepreneur, and also as innovation researcher. While pursuing my PhD in open and collaborative innovation, I was comparing different industries, and I soon came to realize that fashion industry was neither open nor collaborative. I also realized that there was very little innovation happening at the beginning of our supply chain. Most of innovation was happening at the end of a supply chain aimed at us consumers, making us buy more and more goods and selling us goods faster and cheaper. Think about e-commerce, same-day delivery, data analytics, all aimed at selling more and more stuff. And despite enormous technological advancement of today, manually operated sewing machine is still the primary means by which clothing are being made. The way we produce clothing has barely changed over the last 100 years. The only thing what changed is the geographical location of production sites. They moved from European and American cities to India, China, and recently, even to the African countries. So there is a saying in the entrepreneurship context, money will follow good ideas. Well, indeed, in the fashion industry, ideas were following money. Due to human labor being so cheap and so worthless, industry had no incentives to innovate. While the cost of living has been constantly going up, just think about housing, food, or maybe even education, the cost of fashion was always going down. Industry got further distorted by massive discounting practices, where we as consumers even feel silly if we buy something which is priced full price. Think about it. 75% of all garment purchases are being done on a discount price. So as consumers, we stopped valuing the clothes we own. We got addicted to impulse behavior, and we saw fashion as disposable good. Junk food, junk fashion. While feeding our egos, we also close an eye on the fact that fashion industry is one of the most resource-intense industries and one of the most polluting industries in this world. If you think about that, fashion industry produces more wastewater and CO2 emissions than the flight and maritime industry, it's quite incredible. Maybe not anymore in these times, but nevertheless. Fashion industry is also the #1 contributor of microplastics in our oceans. So if we think that fashion goods got cheap, indeed, we are all paying a price for it. Industry is also a very wasteful one. Since 2000, the production of clothing has more than doubled. And most of these clothing end up in landfills. only about 20% of clothing are being collected for recycling. And about 1% of these collected clothes are being turned into fresh textiles. So if we think what we threw away in our life, most of the things are existing somewhere on this planet. If you think about that, a pair of sneakers might take even up to 1,000 years to decay. We need to realize that the industry was built on a very linear business model. So when we think about major innovations in fashion, be it sewing machine, invention of synthetic and more durable materials, or recently also e-commerce, they all cause the problems that our society and our planet is facing today. We also need to admit that there has been barely any innovation in the fashion industry since the last 20 years. And then came COVID. Together with travel and hospitality industry, fashion industry was hit particularly hard. And for better or for worse, the last few months were like a major detox for the fashion industry. The pandemic taught us a number of reasons. First of all, there is no next season. Clothes are just clothes, and good designs don't have an expiration date. In the times when we all wanted solidarity and closeness, fashion industry was no longer part of a zeitgeist. But nevertheless, we also realized that we need creative industries, that we need creativity to keep our spirit high in the difficult times. Fashion is a form of art, and it's the closest and the most intimate way we can engage with art and culture. However, the way we enjoy fashion, it's very different. While music and arts are aimed at connecting people, fashion was aimed at differentiating people one from another. We also realized that our communities became not resilient. Due to globalization of supply chains of fashion production, we were not even able to produce face masks in our own countries. So over the last 3-4 years, I have intensively been thinking, what is going to be the next big thing in fashion? And what is the future in the fashion industry that is actually worth building? I think we need to dream harder. We need to acknowledge that the next organic cotton t-shirt is not going to change the industry. And just simply by shifting our shopping addiction to sustainable brands, we will not achieve a long-lasting change. We need an invention of a value set in the industry. To a certain extent, we need to unlearn fashion as we know it and decode the competitive achievement focus on which it was built. And I have an idea how to achieve it. Because fashion should be local and it should be more social. I have an idea, and it means that we should start repairing our clothes more. The good thing is that we can start already today, and it can even be fun. Well, repairs, it is a natural antidote to consumerism. It is a revolutionary act because we are hacking the linear business model on which the fashion industry was built on. Repairs are also deeply human. Even nature has naturally built repair mechanisms. I grew up in an ex-Soviet Union, and I had a chance to learn how to sew and knit at the home economic courses. Back then, I thought it was a little bit sexist because only girls had to take the course. Nowadays, I'm very happy that I learned the skill which my daughter will most probably not learn at school. Most of the schools do not teach home economics anymore. And as society, we lost interest and lust to repair. And we also lost the skill to repair. But repairs are also good for creativity, because repaired things are unique. And while consuming can be fun and shopping can be fun, creating something with your own hands can be even more rewarding. There are studies that show that shopping joy will wear out most probably within a day. But we all have to acknowledge, once we create something with our own hands, the joy might last for years. Even research suggests that repairs and crafts are good for our mental well-being, and it can help fight stress and anxiety. Mending invites us to a new state of mind, which goes way beyond clothes. However, culturally, repairs has seen different connotations throughout history. During the war times, due to really scarcity of resources, repairs were sometimes seen as an act of patriotism. And we can even see similar behavior today. If we think about people collecting materials, sewing masks, and giving them to the community members, it is a sign of patriotism, it's a sign of being united and being together. After the war, however, repairs were a sign of poverty. And the feminists of the 70s even saw it as an unpaid domestic labor. And repairing became completely not more fashionable. Then came the punks and the hippies. And we all ended up spending big money on used-looking jeans or washed-out t-shirts. Repairs connect people and things. Every garment has a story of its origin. But we consumers also make stories while wearing clothing. The value of a garment isn't determined by the time you buy it. We add value to the clothing by loving them, by living in them, and by taking care of them. So stitches or tears are like scars on our body. They remind us of the events. They make the clothes ours. And finally, we also have to acknowledge that sometimes some repairs are maybe too difficult to do it by your own. There's a large number of local seamstresses and shoemakers just waiting for you to stop by. However, a study by Greenpeace shows that about half of the Germans have never had anything repaired. Think about it. So while we are importing most of the fashion goods from overseas, let's at least repair it locally. This creates jobs, and it supports local service economy. Just like local shops or restaurants, local craftsmen are the spirit of our cities. And we need them to exist. We don't want them to disappear. So the trousers I'm wearing today is the perfect manifestation of everything what I have been telling. They are the real boyfriend jeans. They are the jeans of my husband. He bought them about 15 years ago, and he really loved them. He just couldn't pair with these jeans. They have been repaired by a local seamstress at least 5 times, or maybe more, a lovely Greek lady called Eleni. This jeans has a lot of memories for my husband and myself. And I think after today, they will be loaded with further memories. I guess I will be never able to throw these trousers away. So to conclude, I want to say that I'm not anti-fashion. I love the industry, its energy, and its power. But I'm also convinced that good taste shouldn't come at the cost of the environment or other human beings. I deeply believe that fashion and crafts can be a source for good and a binding element of a community. Repairing clothes offers a significant opportunity to repair our lives, maybe our mental well-being, our relationship to other humans and the planet, and maybe even help the local economy. This planet doesn't need more clothes. It needs more happy people and more resilient communities. So while I'm not sure if repairs are going to be the next big thing in fashion, I'm very sure it is the next right thing. Thank you.